Hi, welcome to valuationpodcast.com, a podcast and video series about all things related to business and valuation. My name is Melissa Gragg, and I'm a valuation expert in St. Louis, Missouri. I have the pleasure of discussing fraud and forensic accounting with Chris Ekimoff, a certified fraud examiner and CPA in Washington, D.C. Chris also serves as an expert witness in matters of SEC financial reporting, complex GAAP accounting, whistleblower, mortgage-backed securities litigation. I mean, where are you not doing stuff, Chris? Welcome.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me, Melissa.
Maybe we can shed a little light into this forensic accounting world. Like, how did you get into forensic accounting, and what does it really mean to do forensic accounting?
Well, I really have two people or two ideas to blame for how I got into forensic accounting. The first is a college professor I had, Professor King. If you see this video, I hope you're doing well. Who was the local ACFE rep for the small school I went to south of Buffalo, St. Bonaventure University. So he taught a class on principles of fraud in financial statements that I attended as an accounting student at St. Bonaventure. Secondary to that, I also had a love of, and maybe a little bit too early in my life, a love of the movie The Untouchables, starring Kevin Costner, where he plays the role of Elliot Ness, and their attempt to bring down Al Capone and his crime syndicate. One of my favorite parts about that movie is the somewhat stocky actor who plays the accountant is constantly walking around the screen saying, we could get him for tax fraud. We could get him for tax fraud. And everybody says, no, he's a murderer. He's a bootlegger. We can't be chasing him down for tax fraud. And then obviously, spoiler alert, Al Capone gets busted for tax fraud. So those two, I look at those two influences as really what made forensic accounting and fraud investigation kind of a part of my worldview and just a place where you could potentially get into an interesting career. And so I'd gone through kind of the regular accounting ringer, did a 5-year dual degree program targeted towards the CPA exam at St. Bonaventure, and ended up landing an internship at a Big Four firm here in Washington, D.C. to focus on the internal controls, or at the time, what was developing the COSO Cube approach to internal controls over financial reporting. Halfway through that internship, had the opportunity to shadow an individual who worked in their financial advisory services group, which housed what they called their FIDS group, or their core forensics group, and really spent a day just loving it. They were looking into the way in which a UN program trading oil barrels for food in undeveloped countries was being abused by the people using that system, right? That were receiving more money than they should have, or more oil than they should have. And that really just sparked my interest as a way to take this accounting background that I had and marry that up with the interest that I was passionate about. And asked it at the Big Four, hey, is there a chance that I can move over into this group? And they said, well, think about it. You won't have the same internship offer that you might have had otherwise. So we'll see. But thankfully, about 6 weeks after the internship closed, they asked if I would want to move into their forensic accounting group, focused mainly on government spending. So defense contractors and government work here in the Washington area. And grew up in Western New York State, loved it, but moving to a city where a lot of things were happening was a great place to be in my early 20s. So jumped at the opportunity and have been working in the forensic accounting world ever since.
Well, that sounds way more glamorous and what I envisioned fraud would be, because whenever I started into fraud, my first case, it was like the first week that I had worked at this accounting firm, right? And they were like, you're going to go on this investigation. And I was like, yes, this is going to be so exciting. And I was like, where are we going? And they're like, in this little town in the middle of Illinois. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I'm sure there's fun stuff, and you're going to pay for all of this, like I get to stay there and da-da-da. And then we were shown to the basement of a law firm. And they were like, so you guys need to stay down here because the town's so small. They're going to figure out that you're here. And it was like, we were investigating a government agency. And then there was like death threats. And I was like, whoa. Okay. So this is not what I bargained for. I was like, I'm a number cruncher. Can we go back to that? So,
but in its sunlight, right? Instead of in a basement, at least, wherever it might be.
Can we go to eat? And then the funny part, which you'll understand this, and then we'll get back to the real questions. But the funny part was that these guys were like auditors, right? And so they were used to working like 15-hour days.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, but I just started, and I thought that maybe we go like, do we get a break? Do we just go to 9 to 5? And they're like, no, we're going to start at like 7 and we're going to go to like 7. And I was like, what is this?
that wasn't in the pamphlet about work-life balance, right? How do we
there was no work-life, and it was literally like funneling through checks, like boxes and boxes and boxes of checks, which, you know, if you want to fall asleep,
yes,
or if you want to like lull your eyes to sleep, like do that for 15 hours straight. I was like, maybe this isn't my line of work. I don't know.